Hey, hey!
Yes, Hando, I know the mic is on. Boom. And put our faces on the screen as well. Yay! Alright. Now I have to lower the music, though. So that doesn't blow everybody away. Turn on so we can hear it. There we go. Aight. Yay.
Wonderful.
Pretty sure I pushed all the right buttons. Although it looks like I have enough backlight coming from my window, I might actually have to drop the shade, darn it. Let's see. Oh, come on, computer.
I will be right back.
Sounds good. Oh boy. Is that too bright, Hando? My backlight as I have a window open because it's beautiful out today and trying to keep the temps down. But drop it all the way, then the wind's going to keep blowing it open, and that might be more distracting. Yeah, that'll be more distracting, so. Balance. Ah, it's still pretty bright. We'll see. Well, I think I'm blocking enough of it now that it shouldn't be too distracting. So we'll go with that. All right. Go back through all of the emails and stuff here on the show. We're trying to keep add new things, and so Ken is working on, finally doing the whole like our own emotes thing. We'll see when we can get those working. That's what all the cool kids do. Let's see. There we go. Sweet. I can now let Ken play. So Ken is going to be working on getting emotes for you guys for Twitch. I'm not sure what he has in mind, but something's coming. Trying to give you guys all kinds of interaction with the show, things you can do when you can add us and such. Let you guys earn some channel points. Oh. Sounds like a Ken coming on. That looks like a Ken coming on.
Hey, that's me.
Hello, sir.
Just set up my microphone here. I always, during work calls, I don't really need it in front of my face. It doesn't need to be high quality.
You don't want to make it so everyone sees your streaming quality. Like, look at me.
Oh, they've seen it before, but just my current setup, it doesn't. It's inconvenient not be able to see my mouse and keyboard and whatever else in that direction, which it blocks out for me. Let me see this channel. Okay.
I preemptively let Hando in the channel know, and whoever else is listening, that you're working on adding emotes and fun things.
Do you think I should call the points? We could rename the points. So instead of just being points, we can call it like rep or something. What do you think?
What is it that people earn when they work with us here on the show? Maybe we should do a poll. Maybe we should have a live poll during the show about, do people want to earn rep? Well, so we always talk about geek cred, right?
Geek cred, there we go. I love it. So the problem is we need to also have, we can do that later, but we need to have icons at some point as well. All right, I manage the rewards.
Iona suggested bricks for the wall of text.
That's pretty funny, but like that doesn't actually achieve anything. I like it though. Like ideally, there's something that can be spent that we have to do, right?
Yeah. Well, so like the suggestion we had earlier that you guys, maybe we get from everybody as we're pre-show here about with the emotes and additional interaction in our Twitch chat is whether or not like putting up stuff when we maybe go on tangents. Something like keep on target, right?
I'll make that expensive so that we don't have to always stay on topic.
So yeah, we're looking at ways to make the stream more interactive with all of you.
How you doing, Todd?
I'm good.
That's good to hear.
Yeah.
Happy today.
Honestly, it's been a wild 36 hours.
Oh man.
Yeah, and I don't really want to get into it.
Yeah, no, you don't need to by any means.
Suffice it to say, everybody is fine.
Okay, cool. Yikes.
That's good to hear.
And leave it at that.
All right, no. Important details have been exchanged. No need to rush out and us do anything major at the moment.
I'm trying to find this article because I thought it would be funny to talk about during the pre-show. Here it is from Pop Topic, Australia. Pop Topic. It's an Australian pop culture website, apparently.
Okay.
Strip clubs are losing girls to Twitch TV.
Good.
Oh, boy,
God forbid that they don't have to get touched by dudes who are, forcing themselves upon the strippers.
Australian strip clubs are losing a lot of money post-pandemic because girls/dancers are making more streaming on Twitch TV. Former Australian stripper reveals why she quit dancing in strip clubs and is now a full-time Twitch streamer, earning a whole lot more money now. Crystal, a 22-year-old former dancer at the Cabaret nightclub in the Fortitude Valley, opened up about her experience stripping for money and how Twitch ultimately changed her life forever. I worked 6 to 9 get this. I worked 6 to 9 nights a month at the Cabaret and was quite happy with what I was earning each night. I also worked part-time as a barista at Starbucks during this time, and I was living quite comfortably. But when the Queensland government imposed new lockdown restrictions, it had a major impact on my earnings. course.
Makes
A lot of
sense.
people got laid off at Starbucks, but I was one of the lucky ones and kept getting good shifts. I easily lost 3,000 Australian dollars a month during the lockdown. I had to make sacrifices in my spending habits just so I could pay my rent and my bills. I was kind of happy to be out of the adult entertainment scene, but I was just too used to earning a lot of money, she said, reflecting on her life choices.
Dollar bills, y'all.
Yeah. Crystal said she felt like she was gambling her health, safety, and well-being while working at the cabaret nightclub.
Understandably.
It never felt safe. My friend told me how much she earns being partnered on Twitch TV, and it was a lot more than I ever did dancing. She encouraged me to create an account and start streaming, and I haven't looked back since. She now earns more money, and she doesn't have to worry about drunk men groping her. She doesn't even need to take off. She doesn't even need to take off her clothes. I wonder if she's in the. I wonder if she's in the new hot tub channel.
That's what I was just going to bring up.
She is taking off her clothes. She's just taking off her clothes in a way that both Twitch and her are allowed to say, no, I'm not stripping. I'm doing hot tub streams.
Well, it could, if nothing else, likely keeps more.
No, it's stripping. It's taking your clothes off for money.
But what I'm saying is she probably is taking off less clothes than was prior.
Okay. Yeah, her bra stays on. All
right. Well, hey, compared to strip club where you might go to nothing, right?
I mean, it's much safer. If they make more money, it's more enjoyable. They probably pick up a whole bunch of skills, right?
You know what? And all of that is fine. There's a place for that. Safe for work Pornhub.
I would say OnlyFans.
That's where.
Well, I was gonna. Yeah, OnlyFans is the thing that I would normally see. That I think that's the more interesting conversation about is the whole to what level things happen on Twitch, right? And like we said, we're going to talk more about Twitch stuff today.
But you need a free gateway drug to get people to your OnlyFans, right? And Instagram by itself might not do it. So that's what the Twitch channel's for, right? I'm gonna dress up in my lingerie and I'm gonna sit on a banana in a hot tub and make pouty faces and lick popsicles.
I say I have no reference.
in a suggestive way and point you to my OnlyFans where I insert the popsicles in other places.
Well, in a way,
right? Yeah, I don't care. Whatever way you make your money is the way you make your money. I don't care. It's safer, according to you, to not have to go to the strip club to take your clothes off for money. That's fine. I'm all for it. My one and only point in all of this is that the website that's ostensibly supposed to be about broadcasting video games is not the place for it. Those places already exist. Right?
I can see what you're going for with that.
And that's all. And that is all I'm saying. And it really, really bothers me. And it should bother everybody else, right? Vice and Kotaku and Polygon claiming that this is empowering. That's bullcrap. What it is it's a method. It's a method by which you can be cognitively dissonant with yourself. Right? Because Twitch doesn't allow stripping, so I'm not stripping. I'm taking my clothes off for money, but Twitch doesn't allow stripping, so I'm on Twitch and I haven't been banned.
I don't think it's cognitive dissonance. I think depending on who is doing it, some will. It depends on what their purpose are. Some of them will know fine well that they are, being ogled at, and that 99% of their chat is male, and that's their idea of what they're doing. Right? They're just trying to be, something they're making use of thirsty guys, right? And I don't think there's a problem with that, because and it's a lot safer than doing that at a strip club. The difference is, as well, is they don't have to take their clothes off at all, right? A lot of them just need to be there and have the cam on, and that'll increase their audience size. I'm not saying obviously all women on Twitch do this. I don't think that's the case whatsoever. I'm just saying that people who previously worked in strip clubs and then used Twitch instead are possibly doing that.
Well, I'm going to break it down.
And it's
even
kind of
more
empowering, because it gives them the opportunity to do what they're doing before, but more safely and with more control over their like there's not a manager telling them when to take their clothes off, right? They have the self-employment power to, and that is a type of empowerment to decide how to be on camera, how to be seen by people. That's great.
Okay.
That's
I'm just going to break it out simple this. They're going where the money's at. Why wouldn't you? Anyone who, if you're in a job, if you're a barista right at Starbucks and you're getting paid $7, $8 an hour, as many I know have, and the coffee shop down the street, or somebody that opens up like the one that has the hotel that has their own one, and they're willing to pay you $20 an hour, you'd be dumb not to go. And if it also happens to be closer to home and have a better, better uniform, better stamp, why wouldn't you? You'd be dumb. I think the challenge is that we have watched Twitch change from being a primarily focused on gaming channel when it was the offshoot of Justin TV, which was the everything channel. And when Justin TV, basically everyone showed it made no money and there were no viewers on it, and everyone was streaming over on Twitch, they started saying, but now that everyone's on Twitch, there's this desire for more than gaming content here. We now have a streaming platform. And arguably, it's the biggest live streaming platform out there, outside of maybe YouTube. And so what we've seen now is Twitch continues to expand, and they're trying to react to the challenge they have right now is a balance, right? They still want to present the idea that it's primarily gaming and that we have all this other content, but they're also trying to react to the fact that people have like really stretched what the limits of a gaming channel stream is because of what draws, eyeballs, and that being often gals very little dress doing something almost like a game. And so that's where,
so we know that there were a handful of Just Dance streamers that weren't playing Just Dance, that were watching Just Dance videos on YouTube and dancing along to them, which is not playing a video game at all, right?
Agreed.
And Twitch had every opportunity to take the hard stance against that stuff.
But what difference does it make? I mean, I think they shouldn't have it flagged as gaming, obviously, because it's technically a lie, but I don't see a problem with them streaming that. Just like so, I actually subscribe to some guys here, two guys who do Wikipedia editing live on Twitch. It's boring as hell to watch, but I want to support them because I'm like, you guys are kings among men. This is awesome. You're really supporting the scientific community, and so I like to just have them on the background to support them, even though it's incredibly boring and nothing to do with gaming.
I now know what I'm gonna do with my paternity leave for my new child. I am gonna start a Twitch.tv propaganda channel, and all I'm going to do is read propaganda. I'm gonna be the Hanoi Hannah of Twitch TV.
That's the thing, right? There's
when I'm not taking care of my child. Well, I mean, it's I could. I'm not ideologically compliant enough to become an editor for Wikipedia, so I'm gonna have to come up with another way.
Well, there's a whole. Actually, just check this. There's an entire directory for politics on Twitch. Right now, the number one is "Profit Isn't Theft." Debate me, and number two is "Free Palestine." So there is already politics and the propaganda stuff going on there.
Always late to the party.
Well, but I mean, that's what we're actually seeing, right? Because we've been so focused on Twitch being.
I'm always late to the party.
Well, we even started like with our own show, right? Before they had talks and podcasts as a subset in Twitch, right? We were living under the Just Chatting channel for the longest time because that was one of their first broad open things they did to say, we're not playing video games, right? We're talking about video games, but we're not playing video games. And so that was one of their answers was, well, we need to give some place, because people are streaming, a place to go. And what we've just watched is Twitch keep expanding. And I think what we're going to probably see is that Twitch TV is just going to be a streaming channel. This is where you come for live streams. It's already been turning into that for a while.
So Adpocalypse incoming, right? So the ad revenue is about to go through the toilet. Right, because it's the same thing that happened with YouTube. So get ready for that, because that's coming.
There will be adjustments constantly, and even like what we see on YouTube today, right, where they essentially they now have it so they can monetize anybody's channel, even if you're not a high enough person to have adverts, right? They can do it with whomever they want. And so it's kind of like YouTube's been doing that. Google's been doing that for a minute. Because that's the one thing, right? As much as we hate it, all content essentially is delivered to us via ad revenue. Anything that you're not paying dollars out of your pocket immediately is somehow supported by ad revenue. And, it's this weird balance you have to play between, how much people are willing to pay, how much ads people are willing to watch, to what people are making enough money to say it's worth them having the infrastructure for it.
Right, and so that would be my other point, is that 99.99999% of this stuff has no value whatsoever and shouldn't be advertiser supported.
Well, when you say has no value, do you simply mean that the content being provided you don't think provides any benefit to the world, or the idea that, because what is value to an ad provider, someone who is paying for ads?
I suppose.
I say, because it's just eyeballs. Ad people just want people to see their brand and whatever it is they're selling, regardless of where they see it. There's very little, and sometimes we see it, but we see so many times where there is problematic content that's put out there that still gets tons of ad revenue, because people are like, well, it's controversial and most people probably will hate me for advertising here, but enough eyeballs will see it that I'm selling more product. Win. Mm-hmm. And so it happens all the time. We see, I think there are channels out there that I scream at, how could these things even possibly exist when they are nothing but drivel? And I'm not talking Twitch or anything, but actual, content providers who seem to be doing quite flippin' well, when all that comes out of their mouth is straight BS that is harmful to the world, and yet they live in right because people are paying them and they are getting ad revenue, right? So in that sense, I mean, it's the nature of what we have. And the only way to get past it is to do things where you pay directly for the access to something. It's like what Floatplane is, right? Yeah. Paying directly for Linus Tech Tip videos without going to YouTube.
This is why we can't have nice things, by the way.
Well, anyway, look at it. This is a good topic for a show that we should do. And before we start this show, I wanted to ask our audience, just before we start the show here, we've now added channel points into our channel. We've also now got a subscribe button, by the way. So if you want to dedicate your monthly free Twitch Prime sub to us, that would be
speaking of trying to get away from ads and paying directly to the source.
Yeah.
Holy crap.
Yeah, we can do cool stuff now. But we also have these points, and I put in a bunch there that are sort of like pre-made ones, and there's one custom in there. Although it just says stop. It's supposed to say stop tangenting.
Mine does. It does on my display. It says
stop
tangenting. Oh, yeah.
So yeah, we've got 6 new options in there. Highlight my message, which is generic on every Twitch channel, right? Suggest a poll, so it wouldn't necessarily run if we think it's dumb, or if you say I don't know, which is the handsomest host. That would just be silly, because I don't want to put these guys down, So that would be. I
don't know. It's more than like measure your beard. Is that the one?
Oh. Hey, just because I'm well coiffed.
Stop tangenting, which is an obvious one, like we're doing technically right now as a tangent. But that way you can actually just say, like, I actually want to hear the topic of the show, guys. Can you please just stop? And we will do it. We will do it. What we should really have, actually, Wayne, is a drop-in, so you can like hammer like a stop button on your desk, and like a klaxon plays, like stop tangenting. That'd be great. A word ban.
You mean not this one? Oh, that reminds me. I gotta turn this up, actually.
That will do. That will do. Let's make that the new drop-in noise. So as soon as you see the stop getting used, you smash that button. We will have to stop there and then. The next one is an IRL word ban. It's 5 minutes. So for 5 minutes, the person gets to choose what we're not allowed to say anymore. And that could be quite irritating if it's like one of the main points of our topic.
How do you talk around it without saying the word?
Yeah. And lastly, guide the raid. We're going to try and end each stream with raid. We're not. This isn't definitive in every time. We're going to try and start doing it soon. Maybe not this week. Maybe next week. But you can guide the raid and suggest who we go for instead through spending those points. So that'll be a lot of fun. Anyway, yes.
And Sir Pencer, you have to stop the channel points. You have to spend the channel points to get us to stop tangenting, not just telling us to
say
stop
it.
tangenting. Unless you were trying to do that as an offline test.
Hey, thank you, Kuro, for the 100 points. Much
Yeah,
appreciated.
We got to
Thank
cheer.
you.
All right,
Thank you,
let's
Kuro.
start the show proper, and we'll get into this, everybody. So here we go. Intro time.
Hiya, this is Kitten Features, and you're listening to ShowX Live with Ken in a student accommodation all the way in Scotland. Wait, that was years ago. You're listening to ShowX Live with your favorite Scotsman Ken, currently residing in the US of A, and Wayne, mostly from Colorado.
Hey, wait a second. I'm on the show too, and I don't get any billing at all? Well, I know how to solve this. Soldater, Fremad, march! You're listening to ShowX with our favorite Scotsman Ken, our child of the corn Wayne, currently living in Colorado, and Todd, who now has an army of angry Norwegians at his back. Enjoy the show! You know what the best part about having an army of angry Norwegians at your back is?
What is
What's
that,
the best
Todd?
part of having angry
They
Norwegians?
work for wooden cross-country skis.
Oh, why the wooden ones? Are they sturdier?
They're cheaper.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah, the fiberglass.
I don't know.
The fiberglass one is expensive.
Based on what I've been seeing lately in the market for wood, I'd be questionable about that.
So Norway is a heavily forested country. Yet.
You can just go out and chop down your own.
I could chop down I make my own. Like these are reasonably ski-like. They work on snow more or less. By
They'll
the way,
keep you from going under.
Most Norwegians can shoot while they ski, so not
That is a
quite as
point.
good as the Finns, but who can really shoot while they ski? By the way,
Nice.
Like, shout out to the Finns who held off the Soviets for ages and ages and ages. Like, think about that for a second, right? By the way, total tangent.
The
at the
tangents
top.
begin.
Damn right. Damn right.
Haven't even said the intro to the show yet.
Oh, no. Think about Russia, right? Russia was invaded twice, right? Once by Napoleon and once by Germany, right? And the Russian winter defeated both of them. Finland's winter is so bad it defeated the Russians. Just think about that for a second. Just let that knock about in your brain for a little while, and then realize what Finland is. By the way, shout out to my fellow Scandinavians in Finland.
Nice.
If there are any of you watching, but
Hey, you never know. Hey, everybody.
I don't know, man. It turns out that our fourth biggest viewership country on our YouTube channel is Turkey. So who really knows who out there is actually watching us?
make Istanbul Constantinople again. Wait.
Hey, everybody.
Oh.
Welcome to the show. It is just after 2 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. GMT on this Sunday. What are we at already? May 23rd, 2021. Today, we're going to be getting into it a little bit, talking about Twitch, as we have been already. And with the great influence and the numbers, essentially, of people that revolve around Twitch streams, what that means for the power of those who provide those streams, and whether that power is being used for good or ill. You heard a little bit of the pre on that, not specific to this direction of the topic before the show if you were here as we were warming things up. But yeah, we're going to get into it a bit with Twitch. So before we kick things off, I have to give my, and I think it's pertinent because of what's happening, my day fact from the LTT Geek calendar I have from yesterday's day, which was in 2010. The first ever Bitcoin transaction for a real-world item is made when a Florida man, go figure, buys 2 pizzas from Papa John's for, guess how many Bitcoin?
25.
Todd, how many Bitcoin do you think 2 pizzas as the first transaction was in 2010?
50.
You guys are both low. It was 10,000 Bitcoin
Wow.
for the 2 pizza.
That's insane, man.
Which-
Can you imagine being that guy and thinking, I can't believe I lost that slip of paper or whatever that had my key on it?
Yeah.
Which in today's market would have been worth over, according to this, whenever they did the math on it, over $95 million. It actually might be more today considering how Bitcoin has been jumping around. But just think about, I'm actually more curious about this piece. What did Papa John's do with that Bitcoin?
Great question.
Those companies that received Bitcoin, did they immediately turn that to cash, or was it so low in value? Did they just stick them in a locker and wait until it might be worth some amount of Bitcoin, right? They might say like, well, you know, it's too much effort to transition this $25 worth of Bitcoin. That's 10,000 Bitcoins over to cash. Or do we just sit them until it's like $1,000 worth and then we'll ship it? And maybe
Genius.
are there some coffee shops? Because I know in San Francisco there were coffee shops that took Bitcoin. Because I remember my brother doing a first transaction of coffee or something. And I know there's some other businesses. Are there not some businesses that might be sitting on literally millions of dollars of Bitcoin because they took it and they just were like, oh, what do we do? You know, like the kid that was the tech kid, right, is the one who transitioned it. And so maybe there's some kid there that has like the keys to Papa John's Bitcoin locker who is just like,
I don't think Papa John's will have cashed it, man. I think that kid just took the Bitcoin and just said, "Oh, it was a no payment to his boss," and stuffed it in his pocket or something, right?
Well, but that's the thing, right?
He lost it.
Any business that was going to trade in Bitcoin had to have had a means to transition it back to cash, right? Because you still got to pay your bills. It may have been minuscule, right? Because the business they had anyone actually was trading in Bitcoin was probably tiny, because there's only a handful of businesses that really did it. And so what I'm more wondering, and I think would likely have happened, is basically Bitcoin's falling through the cracks, right? That they just didn't get converted because it wasn't worth that amount or something at the time. And that if those businesses no longer accepted Bitcoin, right, those lockers still exist. Those wallets are still out there. And so somebody has access. And if you had 10,000 Bitcoins today, which was just the cost of 2 pizzas back then, you'd be done. So, that was just a random thought that came to me. And Spencer saying, like, I bet they don't have the passwords. You know, that famous locked USB stick that person said had 250 million on it or something. That's probably one of those. Some business is like, damn it.
Oh.
No, that dude in England who had, he had his old computer thrown out that had his Bitcoin in it, and then he saw in the market that it took off, and he's trying to trying to petition the council to get the rights to just dig through an old trash site that has 500 tons of trash to find a computer that he hopes the hard drive will still be working, and yada yada yada.
Oh my god,
man, that's tough.
I mean, well, depending on how many Bitcoins.
Right? So...
Oh, totally worth it.
Bitcoin it has on it might be worth it, right?
Right?
Oh yeah. Well, even if it's one, it's probably worth it. Well, right now I think a Bitcoin's worth 30 grand, something like that. It's gone down.
Right. It's gone down. It's at like 32, 33 right now. It's dropped about half its value in the past couple months, or month basically. Which reminds me, Kuro in the chat, I still need to talk to you about Doge, because I know you were a big supporter back in the day, and I feel like you must have had some good amounts before it went nuts. But anyhow, let us talk a little bit about Twitch. So, Todd, would you like to talk to us a little bit about the state of Twitch streamers and why they might be some of the biggest influencers and design experts in the gaming realm today? They're not.
Thank you for that intro where I have to immediately take that's the topic is if the content creator bubble are good at game design, and the answer is no. No, they're not. What set me off on this? So, a little bit of story time. Since I started playing World of Warcraft, I have started watching a bunch of World of Warcraft streams. Right?
Makes sense.
Just to get into the feel of the game, and I like I like watching or listening to something while I'm playing.
Yep.
And it turns out my jam while I'm playing World of Warcraft is either World of Warcraft streams or house music.
Nice.
I'd never known. Like I love house music. Anyway. And so, for those that don't know, pre-patch for TBC came out on the 18th of May, and there was a big maintenance window for that, right? And the conversion of vanilla WoW over to the Burning Crusade WoW was this big deal. Like the first time we went through pre-patch, like the maintenance took forever, and there were multiple downtimes that week, and it was a pretty awful experience for the people that are paying on a month by month basis for game access, right?
I remember back on Warcraft Radio, everybody was saying like, make sure you petition Blizzard to try and get like a week back because it was so bad, you know.
Yep. And I think we ended up getting like 24 or 48 hours back, like 2 days. I think we ended up getting back, which it's not bad. It's not bad at all. But so I'm watching a Twitch stream of some guy that I think I remember from the original run through. Not that he was a streamer or anything, but I recognize his name, and I want to say that his name was mentioned in communities that I was a part of 15 years ago. And so he's doing his stream, and he's just complaining nonstop, and like all of the old cliches. It's like, oh, people took time off work to participate in pre-patch, and they reduced the honor rewards for the PvP battlegrounds, so now you can't grind your high warlord gear fast enough to make it for a TBC start, and you got to be able to have those high warlord weapons for reasons that I don't understand. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to grind to 70 in one sitting and start running Karazhan day one, like in the first stream. And I wanted to reach through the computer monitor. It's like, what are you doing? Right? First of all, the raids don't mean anything except for World First. They're utterly meaningless. So there's a little bit of rep for the guild at large to be gained if you World First Classic World of Warcraft, the Burning Crusade Classic Karazhan, I guess. But the strats have been known for 15 years. You can net deck a character build. So rating isn't an arbiter of player skill, especially now, and doubly so in Classic. So what are we talking about here? I'll give you another
dedication.
example.
People who are willing to do it.
Good for you. Oh, good for you. You're dedicated. Good for you. It doesn't mean anything. Sorry, it just doesn't. I'll give you another example. This one goes back a few years, but when Destiny 2 launched, all the big Destiny streamers were all pissed off because the raid gear wasn't that much better than the regular gear that you could get from doing other activities, and they were all mad about that. So they spent months and months and months and months and months advocating for essentially one-hit kill griefing in PvP and more raids to try and force everybody into the raider box. Like, everybody has to be a raider or you can't progress your character after a point. But again, same sort of thing, right? Everybody net decks a character build and everybody follows the strategy of the streamers in order to do the raids. So none of this is an arbiter of player skill, except for the fact that most people can't follow directions. So again, what are we doing? And it feels to me like, and of course, Paradox Bungie. And of course, Bungie, as they came out with following expansion packs after the first expansion pack at the end of the first year of Destiny 2 did exactly what all the streamers wanted. There were more raids and they allowed one-hit kill griefing in PvP, and oh, by the way, all the one-hit kill weapons were only available in the raids. So why bother ever doing PvP unless you raid? Because you're just going to get raffle stomped by the 10% of Destiny players that do raid.
Sounds like
and are
capitalism.
Successful at it. Ish. So we've got a big problem where it's not really the streamers themselves, right? I can, if I squint hard enough, accept the fact that a streamer is going to advocate for game design. We had a cat join us. I can accept the fact that a Twitch streamer will advocate for game design changes that will positively affect their ability to maintain an audience while they stream. Like, if I squint hard enough, I can kind of accept that. To me, as a streamer, you've got a responsibility for the good of the game overall, which has nothing to do with your stream. Those two things are independent. But if I squint and kind of, turn my head enough, like, I can kind of see that. The problem is the audience, right? Because let's say you've got let's use World of Warcraft. Let's use Asmongold as our example, right? 45,000 people watching his stream, and he says something about game design in World of Warcraft, and suddenly 45,000 people who may or may not have WoW accounts and therefore can post on the forums can now trumpet that thing about game design that may or may not make any sense whatsoever.
That's a good point. So when you first mentioned about the Twitch streamers knowing about game design, I didn't really think about the manpower that. Sorry, that's a terrible phrase. I didn't really think about the numbers game that they have behind them. All those people willing to post on the forums, willing to submit customer complaints, support, feedback, etc., in order and be able to mobilize them, even by accident. That's a scary thought, actually.
Yep. So I don't think, and here's the thing. I guess. I'll give you one more example. I had a fight with a guy. Who was streaming. Who's part of this group of people who's streaming instance boosts. So what you can do, this is the new thing, right? Because the leveling process is just so daunting. I've made 12. I've made like 12 levels in 4 days, but the leveling process is so daunting that you have to go into Scarlet Monastery, Zul'Farrak, Maraudon, right, and AoE grind mobs to level up because it's infinitesimally faster than being efficient in your questing.
That's such a terrible design element. I mean, why would they encourage boring mechanics to be the main form of leveling? It's just going to cause people to do that and then hate the game and they'll lose subscriptions.
Yep. Well, okay. So there's the Blizzard end of this, right? Which Blizzard set up a system, and unfortunately people have figured out with the benefit of years and years and years on original World of Warcraft plus private servers plus Classic now, have come up with ways to, no better word for it, exploit the existing systems. Right? And I consider instance boosting to be an exploit. Right? I'll accept Sherpaing for the purpose of getting guildmates through the content and doing quest turn-ins and stuff.
Sorry,
right?
Could you define what that means?
So a Sherpa would be, so for example, let's use Scarlet Monastery as an example. And pre-patch, it's particularly relevant, right? So we've got two people in our guild that have Blood Elves, right? That are rolling Blood Elf Paladins. And one of them is going to tank and one of them is going to heal in TBC. And they're going through the leveling process right now. But there's only 3 weeks between the drop of pre-patch and the drop of TBC. And we want those paladins to be 60 so they can get into the instance groups, right? And they can get a rapport with their teammates and all of this stuff that's going to come in handy when raid time comes, right?
Sure.
For instance. Okay. So we've got this. If you've got a big enough guild, you have this roster of level 60 characters, right? And you've got these 2 Blood Elf paladins that are essentially solo leveling. Well, if they get to level 40 and it's time to do Scarlet Monastery, I don't have any problem with a couple of 60s jumping in with those 40s, running Scarlet Monastery for once or twice or whatever, to grab whatever loot there is available, like off of Herod. Herod drops a bunch of really good melee class loot, as well as Morgraine, right? Also drops some good melee class loot. So and then you can do the class turn and you get some good items off of that. Like, I don't have a problem with that at all, right? That's what a Sherpa is.
Okay.
Okay.
So it's boosting effectively.
Yeah.
I think I describe it more as it's guiding.
But in a limited fashion, right? It's more of an escort through the instance to get the objectives, right? Rather than running one tiny part of Zul'Farrak over and over and over again, because a bunch of the undead mobs in there aren't elites, so a paladin or a mage can solo them.
Okay, I understand.
Right? And that's the difference, and that's what the Zul'Farrak boost is. Right? And the Maraudin boost is, again, you go in there with a level 60 mage that's tier 3 geared, and you just run through the whole or large sections of the thing, and you kill like 150 mobs at a time, and it doesn't yield any experience for you because you're level 60, but the level 45 that you brought in, they're getting tons of experience because of the way the group dynamic sort of balances that stuff, right? But nobody ever fights the bosses. Nobody ever, nobody ever does the quests. Like, it's just there. You kill a bunch of mobs, you log out, or you exit the instance, reset it, run back in, grind those exact same mobs again, run out of the instance, log back in, find somebody else to form a group with so you can use their instance timer. Or their instance lockouts.
I understand. Okay.
Right? That's a bad thing.
I've grinded Stratholm a few times on one of my Hordy paladins, actually, because I hate paladins, and so I use them for grinding because I don't want to level them any further. And I've realized that because I could grind the instance so quickly at max level, because I'm just trying to get them out, right, that I can actually get locked out for having too many instances, like available instances or memory on the server, I guess, in reality, that I've used, right? So it complains and says you can't have run any more instances for like another 20 minutes. So I guess something like that, I guess.
I'm sorry. One more time.
I've run Stratholm so many times in such a short period of time that the game actually locked me out and said you can't run any more of these instances for like another 20 minutes or so.
Yeah, that's some of the in-game. That's some of the in-game restrictions that are available, but you're not. I don't know. Are you gaining experience points for any of this?
No. It's just literally just a mount run.
Okay. I mean, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that particular bit. I know I'm dead set against boosting that way. The way that I've been talking about, and I'm fine with Sherpa-ing people. And I'm not. It's kind of a middle ground, and I'm not exactly sure how I feel about that. So I hadn't thought of that. So this brings up sort of the bigger discussion, which is what I really wanted to have. There's this huge content creation bubble, and in order to get the most views possible, you have to sort of have the hottest take. This is the kind of goes along with the discussion that I was having with this guy who's doing the Maraudin boosts, who's started to crap on Cyberpunk's 2077, and I said, you know what, Cyberpunk 2077 was fine, right? And he talks in a Morning Zoo radio disc jockey voice, and he's got a lot of bass, so he's trying to be Wolfman Jack too. And because he can talk in this way, that makes him sound really, really professional. People think he knows what he's talking about. Yeah. And he does. And he does. Because Cyberpunk 2077 was fine. If you didn't exploit, it was fine. I had a processor that didn't even run the game. I had to edit the hex. And after I edited the hex, it was fine. I mean, yes, were there some clipping issues? Sure. Do I care? No. Why? Because I didn't believe the hype. So, yeah, we're in this content creation bubble. We've got YouTube, we've got Twitch. The games media is worthless to combat this. Like, they're so bad that they could take the hard stance against this stuff, right? They have they had at one point theoretical built-in credibility where they could just, like, somebody on Twitch said something stupid, here's the truth. And they could take the hard stance against this stuff, but the games media is worthless. And we've got this problem where people are saying stuff and they have big audiences, and those audiences are going to forums and other places, and they're affecting game design, and I don't think in a good way.
Okay, well, okay, in a good way is you're a consumer, and you're considering from the consumer's viewpoint who is not interested in what these Twitch streamers are interested in, or these Twitch viewers are interested in. So not only are you a consumer like many of them, but you're also a specific type of consumer that's different from them, right? So when we consider whether it's a good thing or not, we need to consider who for. So yeah, we can consider, for these people who are making the complaints in the first place, but we can also consider the company. And is it a good thing that these people are harassing the company and saying, bah, so-and-so Asmerod or whatever, Asmongold, whatever his name is. Yeah, he said something and it got me mad, and I'm now typing this out even though I don't really understand the purpose and blah, right? Is that a good thing or a bad thing from the company's perspective? What do you think of that?
Well, it's a bad thing because any bad publicity is anything that could potentially stop people from paying for my product is not good, right? So the best thing that I could possibly do. And by the way, Ken, I don't think most people say, I watched Asmongold's stream and he said this, therefore they just say, this is broken, Blizzard, fix it. Right?
It's,
and then
similar to when we used to we used to say stop the will of the Forsaken nerf, right? When we used to bitch about that every time.
Yes. The reason why I'm not playing World of Warcraft anymore is the will of the Forsaken nerf. Even though it's like 2013.
I mean, we did do that back in the day one time to a degree, but we never had an effect.
Well, okay. So that was where thread jacking came from, right? I would go through and I would find a post that I would think is a wine thread. And ordinarily they took the form of, oh my God, I can't raid, but I'm entitled to gear progression. Make it easier, Blizzard. Wah. More or less. Right? And again, my stance on that has somewhat evolved over the years. I think there should be things for all players to do when the leveling process is over. So the solo player, the 5-person group player, the 10-person group player, and the 25-person group player, right? Those are the 4 styles at which you can play endgame World of Warcraft. And there should be things for each of those players to do. And I'll accept the argument that the 25-man or 25-person player should have perhaps a 1 standard deviation advantage in output over the solo player. Like, again, I can squint hard enough, I can look at it like abstract art and go, yeah, I can kind of see why that is, but does it really matter? Right?
I would go to I think this is an unpopular opinion. I think if you do solo content, you should unlock gear that makes you better at solo content. I think if you do 5-man group, you should unlock gear that makes you better at 5-man groups.
That's
I think if
interesting.
you do PvP, you should unlock items that make you better at PvP. I think if you raid, you should be able to unlock items that make you better for raiding. And every single one can also be,
but
sprinkled fun gear, like cosmetics and stuff.
But Dr. Reed, I only like to do this one thing most of the time, and so but all my buddies want me to come do this other thing with them on every once in a while, because I mostly solo game, but then everybody's like, come raid with us, and I don't already have top tier gear raiding, so I can't play with them because I spend all my time solo. So shouldn't my solo gear be better than raid gear? Because it was way harder for me to get the stuff I did by myself.
Have you been researching? Did you grab the time machine and go back to 2008 Blizzard forums? Because I swear I've heard that before.
Well, so the bad part is I absolutely agree with you, Ken. And it's something, and I'm doing that whine mostly because I played WoW as a solo player. And so I didn't ever care about what happened in those other experiences because I didn't do them. And so it was always weird to me to see all these people making the complaints about wanting gear to be better in one thing or another. Challenges, I don't know how you balance that in the game. I don't know if there's some specific kind of for each of those kinds of events, do you have to then make a stat on the gear that you come with them that only applies to that, so that PvP gear has stats that only applies to or benefits highest against other player characters, where in dungeon raids you have ones that have higher response to boss characters, where in PvE content you have ones that maybe have bonus against regular mobs, right? Stuff like that. I can see. Actually, I'm kind of coming up with a mechanic now that might work. But
they tried to do that, right? Because you needed to have spell hit gear, or you needed to have spell hit on your caster gear if you were going to do the raids, because they set the raid bosses to be 3 levels higher than the player, right? So when you get into that doesn't matter, just Magtheridon, for example. Magtheridon's at least level 73, right?
Okay.
For a level 70 raid. So he's got all the advantages of being plus 3 levels. So it's he's got 6% natural spell resist, and he's got bonuses to dodge and parry and all of the melee defensiveness stuff too. So you had to, if you were gonna do the raid content, you had to stack plus hit gear in order to overcome those inherent advantages, because the raid boss was the level of the raid boss was set to be at least 3 levels higher than max level, right?
Yeah.
So they did try to do that, and I was thinking in my head, I was kind of going through, well, what would you do with the current TBC sort of statting on gear? And I guess if you were doing solo content, you would put spell crit on a bunch of stuff, and if you were doing raid content, there would be some hit and some crit and some spell damage on it, and you would have a sprinkling of each, so that if you had a full set of raid gear, you would have all the spell hit you needed, some spell crit so you could do burst DPS when you needed to, and then the damage to increase the damage of the raid overall. PvP gear would be mostly resist and avoidance based, so defense for the melee, defense and or dodge for the melee characters, and spell resist for the spellcasters. You could do it, but that makes all of the routes mutually exclusive, especially in an environment where respecs cost money. Right?
Okay.
Because the other thing that you have to factor into it is that there's not just gear, there's also talents. And so I can get crit, I can get melee crit from my talents. I can get reduced spell resist from my talents, and increased damage from my talents. So, it's another variable that needs to get factored into that gear story.
So I think we can simplify this. So instead of it being sort of with additional complexity of multiple types of stats for different purposes. We could effectively do a categorization system that's kind of like the color system, where it's obviously rarities. But imagine we had a separate color system or some other form of categorization. Like we would just say, like, imagine like when you hovered over gear on the side, it would just have an italic somewhere, solo gear or whatever. And it means that it's still 75% effective to anything in the game. So if you have the best raid gear, you're going to be about 75% as good as the best PvP gear. So there is still some it doesn't have to be 75%. It could be maybe 25% or 50% or wherever is deemed appropriate, right? And that way, you can still transition. If you want to play with your buddies while they're doing something else, you can still do it, but you won't be as good as them, nor should you, because you haven't put in the time and effort, right? I think that's a nice way of doing it. I mean, yeah, you could add the complexities of being like spell hit or types of damage. I remember they had PvP resilience and all that as well added in at some point. We could do all that, whatever. It doesn't really matter in the end. But so long as the main concept of you do 100 or even bonus damage, however you want to do it, you do bonus damage for the type of gear you get depending on the type of gear you got, right? And then you do less for everything else.
Yeah,
I think that solves that problem.
Yeah, we're about to go through the whole.
We're not doing a tangent. This isn't a tangent.
Okay, you say that. I hit the button way too many times, by the way. Everything was sitting there in the background like, what is going on? But, well, you say that. The point of the conversation is, are Twitch streamers there for game design? And what you guys are doing is trying to design games.
That's fair.
Okay, that's a fair point.
That's fair.
You're proving the point but to bring it back to the conversation, the question is, these kind of conversations, is this good for, like, as people talking about it, what part of this is the part that should be, random Twitch streamer? Because what I think the argument Todd had initially is, how many of them are doing what is better for their channel and their specific gameplay? Like, I am just a raider, so when I when I tell my group, incite them to say, like, go comment, do big things, I'm gonna always bring up every time I stream how these 5-man raid streams would be way better if Blizzard just did this, and thus it would be more exciting for all of you. And, oh, by the way, it would be easier for me as a streamer to do this, this, and this, because now it's just easy.
Perfect.
That's part of the concern, right?
Actually, I got two perfect examples for you. One of them to tie the conversation Ken and I were having back into the main topic. We're about to go through the whole, I've got tier 2 gear and it's all being replaced by Hellfire Peninsula greens.
Because of the actual update that's coming, right?
I spent 12,000 gold on GDKPs in WoW Classic, and it's all been replaced in 3 hours of me going through the Dark Portal. Like, that wine is going to go huge. It's why, second example, every single one of the streamers that I watch has been talking about how important it is to go get the epic PvP weapon in this 3 weeks before TBC launch, because the high warlord weapons are supposedly going to last you until most of the way through the leveling process. But they're not, here's the other part of that. They're not going the rest of the way. And going the rest of the way is to say, by the way, the rest of your gear, if it's not tier 2.5, meaning AQ 40, if it's not AQ 40 gear or better, it's all getting replaced.
I don't see why that's a problem.
I don't think it is a problem. My point is simply, and I understand that you don't have to say it every time, right? That would get old. Like, I'm gonna go get my high warlord gear, and I'm not gonna go get the rest of the gear because it's all gonna get replaced with Hellfire Peninsula greens, right? Yeah. That takes a long time. It's boring. If you're a long-time lurker in the channel, like, you're gonna hear it 50,000 times every stream, because people come and they go, and people come into the stream and they ask a question, and a lot of times it's the streamer is answering a question that they just answered like 2 minutes previous. So I understand the idea of not wanting to repeat yourself over and over and over and over and over again. Like if you're in a 6-hour stream for World of Warcraft, if you're doing raids or PvP or whatever, and somebody asks, gosh, what should I do in terms of gearing? Right? There's only so many times you're going to answer that before you're just like, you know what, dude, I can't help you. Or that's like, we just answered that. At some point, either they put a Nightbot command in, like ! gear for what to do or something like that, right? Well,
yeah, good idea.
So there's lots of things that you can do, but again, this is the I've got an audience, I'm going to say something. I don't know anything about game design, but I know what adds viewership to my channel, so I'm going to advocate for that thing. And I don't think in most cases, and all I've got is anecdotal evidence for this, so I guess I could be wrong, but in my opinion, it seems to me like anytime somebody advocates for a game design change, it's to the benefit of their channel. And I don't think those things benefit the game overall.
This reminds me of an old problem of, not that I'm trying to allude to modern politics or anything, but the old problem of celebrities making use of their power base and celebrity status to control things outside of their, speciality of, say, acting in a reality TV show or something.
Yes.
Or business.
Yes.
Yeah, so and celebrities have also this problem that people just like them. They're like, oh, I really like that guy in that one film, or oh, she was really good in that music. I don't know, she was my favorite singer or whatever. And suddenly that gives them a voice to talk about stuff that is completely irrelevant. And I've seen a lot of feminists, for example, get pretty mad. Some are really appreciative as well, but others are getting really mad about people like. Oh, I'm so bad with I don't know celebrities' names. What's the name of Prince Harry's wife, who was on Suits, I think, the TV show?
Meghan,
anyway,
whatever.
Meghan Markle.
Meghan Markle.
Yeah. So she was getting a lot of flack for talking about, for example, race relations, because people were saying, you're literally married to a prince. You are so privileged. Like, we get that you're still going to have issues with race, but compared to the vast majority of the world, you're in the top 0.1% of people who experience racism, right? Like, I'm not. That's not me saying my opinion about it. That's me quoting what I read elsewhere, right?
Yeah.
Same with Harry Potter, Hermione again. So
yeah.
bad.
Oh gosh, shoot. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Gosh darn it.
Yeah. So her, the actress that played Hermione Granger in the Harry Potter films, she got into a lot of flack because of the same thing. She went to spoke to the UN, and a lot of people were saying, "Why are you speaking to the UN? There are people with PhDs in feminist studies who have done statistical analyses on these topics, and they're being ignored. But you, who was in Harry Potter, and yeah, you're a feminist and stuff, but you were just in Harry Potter. That's what you're known for. Why are you the one that's speaking?" And it's this idea that celebrities are getting heard because they're celebrities, less than the experts and the specialists and the people with the knowledge and who've been through the hurdles and earned their right to talk about these things.
Yep. Yeah, that's 100. That's 100%.
So with that in mind, where do we put streamers? Because they play the games. They play them constantly. In fact, they're making a livelihood by playing these games probably more than any of the regular people do.
So they have experience with the game systems, and that's fine. But again, so I don't have any game design experience, but I have nearly 20 years of software development experience, and they're at least tangential to each other, right? I mean, designing computer software and designing video games, not necessarily the same thing, but they're close, right?
Okay.
And I can look at a game's systems or mechanics and go, that's I don't like the fact that this mechanic pushes me to do make these set of choices every time because they're always optimal. And so we probably should refactor some things to make other choices more relevant, you know?
Okay.
Do you mind if I make it a bit more particular?
Sure.
So League of Legends is a really good example. People are constantly saying, "Oh, nerf this champion because I just played a game against Katarina and I died instantly to her ultimate, and therefore she needs nerfed." Right? Whereas the people who are on the actual development team might look at it and say, "Well, according to her percentage of spell penetration and the gear that you had of magic resist, etc., you had a lot of armor, you had no magic resist. She could do 200% standard damage to you or whatever. So." Yeah, you should have died in one hit, and looked at that and said that's completely reasonable. But then we're saying that there are other people who are not necessarily the developers of that game who can still provide some insight, and potentially Twitch streamers is the question of the show. But also there are other people such as potentially software developers and designers and whatever else who can provide some kind of insight and some kind of interest into this stuff. And that's what you're arguing for, right? So with the League of Legends example, I think that we can argue that the number one people who can make design choices for the game are the designers of the game, right?
Yeah.
Well,
yes.
So,
you're right.
But then there's a list of other people as well.
Well, but what they, I will speak specifically to the League of Legends example, right? What you actually get is they have all the metrics of how much they just pull the metrics for how much players play each character, how often characters of a certain type win encounters, battles, the overall matches, damage done. They have all the numbers, and so they go through more by seeing the meta by how people are actually playing the game, and they'll adjust accordingly. I think the concern that we've been talking about this whole show about when you have people who have large audiences, right, that are essentially famous in their right, that they may only see a game from a specific perspective. And some of the decisions they're making and the things that they're touting for, because it's what they specifically like, may not be representative of the actual majority of the community who play the game. And so the concern there is you may have developers listening to the loudest commenter, right? Someone who has a big following that's famous, and thus reallocating their resources, their time, money, energy of developers to fix or adjust things in the game based on what this very vocal minority is saying, versus addressing the problems that the majority of players of the game are actually experiencing. Things like that, right? So an example like one that, even though, like we said at the top of the show, it's actually pretty darn solid and good game, even minus the challenges in it, but Cyberpunk, right? If you only listen to the loudest screaming people out there about what needed to be fixed, you might only see a patch come out, or the primary focus of a patch being on, oh, there's not enough background traffic, or the traffic is so dumb because if I park my car, it stops all traffic in the city. Even though that is not game breaking and is not a big issue for the majority of players, it's just something that might be seen a lot, and thus a lot of people,
That's a good
or
point.
someone says.
Wait. One of my favorite things I ever learned in a statistics class, I know the start of that sentence sounds really boring, but hear me out.
Wait, coming from the doctor in the room?
Still boring.
You learned one more interesting thing in your statistics class than I learned in mine. So go on. I want to hear this.
There's a glass factory, and they're looking at the number of people who've been injured, and they see that 99.9% of injuries are cuts. And the idea is, how do we prioritize? And looking at the stats, or at least looking at the frequencies, you would assume, therefore, that you should consider the cuts as the most important thing. Uh-huh. But the 0.1% was a guy who died. He fell into a machine and got crushed or something, right? Okay. Obviously, when you have all the knowledge, you can think, well, duh, we need to make sure that never happens again. Cuts be damned. But if you consider just the frequencies, you would think the small, tiny cuts are more important. And it's the same with these comments on this video game. Obviously, a less important thing, but still, if you consider just the frequency of complaints, it's much less important to get to solve, as you say, the traffic working correctly, as opposed to, for example, game crashing bugs.
Yeah. So this is a thing in engineering circles. This is a thing called failure modes and effects analysis, and it's a big deal. Every project at some point in the, let's say, the last 20 years at least, has done this, at least in the aerospace realm. And to determine your prioritization of failure modes or risks, you have to take a look at the likelihood of occurrence and the severity of the impact, right? And those are taken together. And then you do this big spreadsheet, or you have a tool that helps you, based on feedback, and then you prioritize who's going to mitigate what, and then after the mitigation, you look at them again, right? And that's how you prioritize where the money goes when you're trying to fix things. So yeah, that is very interesting. I wish I had learned that in my statistics class. I didn't learn that until I became an engineer. So, oh man,
Well, no, I think where you came across all of this, Todd, is through like some legitimate good concern as a gamer. And right, it's because you're watching people and you saw people bringing up things that you were like, knowing that you have played certain games, you felt it and you're like, but that's not a big deal. That's not a big issue. The thing that this person's railing against really doesn't affect the game. Or if they change it in the way that this person's advocating for, they're so focused on the one aspect of the game they're seeing, they don't realize how it's going to hurt the majority of the player base, because they only worry about this aspect of the game that they play, right? And it's actually one of the earlier comments we had in the chat here was talking about speedruns, right? You have this elite group of people who are speedrunners, who are able to do things in the games that even the developers go, huh? And the challenge is, if you just had, because they get large numbers of viewers, right, to see how people can break the game, and if you just focused all your energy on addressing the speedrunner, either fixing certain things or designing a new game with it in mind that maybe it'll become a speedrun game or something, I think you're going to miss the majority of actual people that would play the game.
Much like designing World of Warcraft for the top 1% of raiders. Or designing League of Legends balancing of champions based on the top 1% of streamers.
Yep. Let's see. I'll give you another example. One of the EU4 streamers that I watch is doing probably one of the hardest campaigns I've ever seen. It's a one culture, or one faith, one culture. So you have to conquer the entire world. You have to convert the entire world to one faith, and then you have to convert the entire world to your culture. And he's doing it with a culture that doesn't exist at the beginning of the game. So he's doing it Roman culture. So he's converting the whole world to Roman culture. And he rolled, so the 1.31 patch went live April 27th. It's been a little less than a month. He rolled his game back to the 1.30 patch because in his words, quote, 1.31 was broken. Now the last update to 1.31 was on May 12th, right? So they had a patch on April 28th, a patch on May 4th, and a patch on May 12th. So for the last 11 days, most of the bugs from 1.31 have been squished. Right? And yet, there's a stream going on, and not 2 days ago, 1,000 people were told that 1.31 is broken. Now, to be fair, a month ago, it was not good. It was, it didn't deserve to be the lowest rated product on all of Steam. Bad, but there were things that did not work and needed to be fixed. Right?
That's the community for you, though, right? That's the average gamer who's like, oh, I'm mad about one thing. I'll downvote your game, and that tidal wave. You needed a splash of water, and you got a tidal wave.
So we're lemmings.
Yes.
So gamers are just lemmings.
Well, it's not just gamers; it's people, right? We get really caught up in hype. We're so that's how we had burnings of witches and stuff back in the day. You just need one impassioned person able to convince the rest, and boom, you got somebody burning at the stake for daring to do mathematics or something as a woman.
Wayne,
You know,
Wayne, I'm gonna make it my life's mission for the next week to get you a sound bit of Flavor Flav to tell you what to do with the hype.
I think that's a good one to pop in. I can absolutely add that to the drop-in list because
So
along with a good GIF that goes with it.
Yep.
So I can do
I
that.
like that
Yep.
idea.
Yep. So,
Good GIF.
because man, I just I understand his point. Like he's trying to do something that no one publicly has said that they've done ever in this 6-year-old video game, right? That's pretty cool. To try something that hard. And if you're in a position where the quality of a video game release prevents you from doing this thing that you've been planning for months and painstakingly working out every move and try to figure out how is it even possible to make this thing happen, and if so, what things do I need to do, what are my backup plans if things go wrong, and so on and so on and so on, right? I get it, but there's an aspect of responsibility here, right? You are now talking to an audience. If I'm looking, World of Warcraft streamer in my followed channels 3.7K, Binding of Isaac, one of my followed channels 1.4K, Destiny 2, one of my followed channels 1.3K, Europa Universalis 500 plus. And it kind of falls off from there. One of my channels, Stellaris, the Devil's channel, actually, 666. Watching that. Dun dun, let him who hath understanding reckon the number of the beast. And all it takes is somebody out of frustration saying something with no context, with no explanation of what they meant, right, to set these people off, right? And I'm gonna come back to the pre-patch maintenance, right? And the guy who's at the top of my followed channels is just burying Blizzard because the maintenance went long. And it's, people took days off, and it's like, when did these people start playing? 2019? Because I remember every patch day was like this.
At the same time, they're completely right to complain about this. I have to disagree with you here. Just because it's tradition doesn't mean it's okay. Like, the fact that how much money did they bring in? I know they're a small indie company and they can't afford to hire a team who can do maintenance on live servers, God forbid, maybe with an occasional restart. But the thing is, they've got the game set up into freaking shards now. So why aren't they just restarting these virtual servers a little bit at a time and shifting everybody else over into an alternate VM as they fly around? And that way nobody has any disruption to service. Why don't they do that?
Good question. I don't know. I imagine that something about a 15-year-old architecture. Like there was talk of databases being copied, right? And no database copy is fast. Like there's no such thing as a fast database copy. So I don't know, Ken. I can't answer that. So I understand where you're coming from. I don't particularly. I don't like the way that the argument was phrased. I guess like people took time off. Well, why would you do that? Like,
yeah, that is their fault for sure.
I understand it's your time off and you can use it whatever way you want to, but come on, you didn't understand that there would be a risk of doing it on patch day. You wouldn't wait until the day after patch day, or because patches happen on Wednesday to wait until Thursday or Friday and take the Friday and give yourself a long weekend. Sorry, excuse me for 1 second.
Also, of all the things they could actually take time off for, why are they doing for pre-patch instead of the actual, launch of the expansion? That's where I'd be doing my time anyway.
Because I got to grind honor. I got to get those high warlord weapons. The other streamer I watched said that, that now that I don't have to make rank 14 to get the high warlord weapons, like I can just lose 6 ABs and have all the honor points that I need, and it's all good, right? And I got to have those because I got to have, I certainly can't do the TBC content and Dungeon Blues. Can't. I gotta do my gold farms, and I gotta do my gold farms so I can run my Nax GDKP and get full tier 3, because I wouldn't want to have to actually look at the gear to see what's an upgrade and what's not. We have to make it to level 70, like as fast as possible. Because the streamer told me that's what everybody does.
Yeah.
Nah. Well,
like we're not gonna make level 60. I said I wasn't going to talk about guild stuff. I'm not really talking about guild stuff. The group that I'm doing 5-mans with is not going to make level 60 by TBC launch. We're just not.
Gotcha.
Right? And that's great. I am more than okay with that. Why? Because the rat race will blow through Hellfire Peninsula the first day, and by the time we get there, there's going to be like 20% of the player population that would have been in there day one, and we don't have to stress.
Oh, dude, you're gonna be sitting there like, instead of having to wait on those like pig poops to spawn so that you could look through them, like you're gonna be you don't have to wish for poop anymore.
Nope. We're just gonna be good. We're gonna be good to go, and I am just fine with that. So for the yeah, I'm just
okay. So guys, it is time for us to have a break and allow people to run away and do things to empty thimble-sized bladders and such. However, at the same time, my music playing services here on the system today have decided to lock up randomly whenever I load them. So when we go to break here, it's likely to be a quiet break unless we do something else. Yeah, and curious what Todd is running through here. You able to cue something up on your end?
No.
Okay.
No, I mean I can vamp for a few minutes if you really need me to vamp. That's fine.
Well, it's one of those we can go to break. I can do the whole break thing here. We do have several emails actually coming back that have built up over the past several shows that that we'll need to get into here. But I know in order to do said reading of emails, I need to refresh the water myself. And so I do want to give people an opportunity to step away from the keyboards for a couple minutes. So up to you guys what we do. Do you want me to put us in the be right back break thing without music? Because darn you Winamp for dying on me and sitting here and spinning. Or do you guys just want to chat as I run away from the screen here?
I can chat. I'm not going anywhere.
I'll vamp.
All right, I'll let you guys continue. I won't hit the thing. I'll be off the cans for a minute. We'll come back, and then we'll get into some emails. So you guys do your thing.
What's up, chat? No, it's playoff time. I'm looking at
we're not in sports, are we?
The NBA playoffs, my friend. It's playoff time. I'm not gonna spend much time talking about it.
Because I was just gonna do the puppy show. That's all I was gonna do.
The puppy show?
Come say hi. Here we go. Here we go. Hello.
Dogs. I'm glad that there's an ocean between me and this dog.
Why?
It's not that I just don't like dogs. It's not that it's your dog. I just don't like him.
Oh, well, poor boy. He doesn't like you. Yeah, they're big and like kiss people's faces.
Nothing personal against him. I just don't like dogs generally.
Yeah, like these guys like to jump up and kiss faces. So this is pretty much the nightmare for anybody who doesn't like dogs.
I realize wasn't really looking at chat. I realize that there's probably going to be a dog in my house at some point.
Oh, because you're having a child?
I'm about to have a little girl. Yeah.
And she's gonna want a dog at some point. Cool, man.
Yep.
Oh, look, there's those cats.
We already have a cat. I
Exactly.
love my cat. In fact.
Well, let me into a little secret of our family.
Okay.
When we got our first dog, that was my decision. I was like, yeah, I want a dog. I've always wanted to have my own dog, and finally we got one.
Mm-hmm.
And he's a rescue and everything, and that means he has some problems and stuff. But I love him very much.
Sure.
And then my wife said one day after like a couple of years, after a year of having Tank, she said, we really need to get a second dog so the Tank's not lonely when we leave. And I was like, I really don't want a second dog. Like, there's already like the pressures of when they get old, you got to look after them, and then the expense of that. And one dog because it was adopted as well. We were like, well, we already have a dog that has problems. Do we really want to get a second dog that has problems? Because we only ever adopt. We want to try and be ethical that way. So I was really against getting a second dog. And so when we got Brutus, this lovely thing behind me, that keeps every time I pet, he loves to put his paw on my arm to try and keep me there. By the way, I don't know. He's super sweet. I was adamantly against getting him, and when we got him against my will, I said yes, but super begrudgingly, and I was like, "You're looking after him. He's not going to be my dog." Blah, 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 blah.
Right.
I was
Yeah.
quite cruel about it, right?
Yep.
Eventually, we got him, and after 2 weeks, I was smitten. I was absolutely smitten.
Aww.
Looking after a creature like that, even if you don't want them in the first place, can often change your viewpoint.
Oh yeah.
So
I
you
get
might
that.
experience that one day.
Likely. Very, very likely.
They find ways to melt the heart.
Like I've always been a cat guy. And apparently, according to TikTok, that means I have less red flags as a potential mate than if I disliked cats. Yeah. Apparently not. Apparently, guys who don't like cats are a big red flag because cats as pets are inherently all about borders.
No. Yeah, boundaries and stuff. I can see that.
Yeah.
Although it's weird because every gal I see on dating stuff is like, look at my dog that's bigger than me that I love more than anything you'll ever bring. And I'm like, wow. Okay.
Well, not dating you.
Right? Anyhow. Hey, I'm back. I got water.
Welcome back.
We can continue. And it looks like actually when I've decided to wake up here, so who knows? Maybe the outro for the show will actually work.
Fantastic.
However,
I'm excited for these emails.
We do have emails, as well as I want to do a shout out to Brian Judd 1970 for following us this feed. That came up earlier in the feed, and so big shout out to you. Thanks for the follow.
Welcome.
As well as, of course, to Kuro for hosting us as well. So I'm going to work from the most recent back, I think, because of what is relative to what we've been saying. So the first email I'm going to talk about is from Hando, and it says, "Classic WoW, how about classic radio? Hey, X-Men. There I was in the Congo. Do you remember who used to say this? Well, I certainly do. Imagine my surprise when being prompted to back up my Space Engineers files from watching the official Twitch channel. My eyes gaze over folders named MMOs 2011 and 2012. In my head, I was sure that these were pics from my times playing Warcraft and SWTOR. I decided to open them up and look, and what did I find? Well, I remember when you clicked on an Alpha Geek Radio link, it saved the podcast to a local drive, so having done generations of backups, I come across hours of Casually Hardcore, ShowX, Alpha Geek Radio, the podcast. Want to take a trip down in the time machine from 10 years ago? I sure did. I listened to a New Year's Eve special from Ken, the ShowX episode where Ken announced he was going back to grad school, and of course, one of the most epic episodes ever. Yay! So get ready to put on Friday by Rebecca Black and go to the movies to watch the first installment of Hunger Games. We're going back in time. Cue Huey Lewis Back in Time music. Your pal Hando. So it's funny, Hando, is I actually do have a channel out there that was a recreation of the old WoW radio site that admittedly I didn't finish populating with all the media that I eventually got hold of as kind of an archive of what was the old WoW radio site for the old content. As much as people were trying to bring back new stuff, I did have a thing of the old stuff. All right. Continuing.
I still have the pictures of Cupcake, by the way.
I think I've seen at least the one because
history.
I was so mad because that was a meme I tried to get started that never seemed to hit. And I was like, I mean, go figure, it was my face. But I just thought it would have been great. That like back when memes were still, you put it on the black background. It was almost the color scheme of our actual show. But that you'd have in the person's face in the middle and text underneath. That's actually really close to our layout. Huh. But
That is actually
as I look at it, it's like, this is like the old meme layout. That's what this is.
Impact font and a picture of a cat or something, and that weird umbrella spiral background.
So anyhow, thank you, Hando. Yes,
So
Wayback Machine.
So the story behind that, for those who don't remember Kopkake, is we were at the Consumer Electronics Show.
I forget what year it was. It was whichever year we rented out the porn house. And so,
it was 2011 because I was massively hungover at 2011 CES, and it was 2010. It was the year after the porn house because we drove south from the convention center in the Noma car.
I was gonna say because we did Kopkake with all of them because
we were in the house. We were in the house, not the porn house.
I thought the house was the porn house, the one with the shag carpet and all the questionably large bathroom.
Okay, you're right. No, you're right. It was that year. Anyway, so we're driving down the street, and off to the left, I see a cupcake shop. And this is right after the Gnome and I did a car karaoke rendition of Paradise by the Dashboard Light by Meatloaf, which I never thought I'd say that sentence ever. And there was a cupcake shop on the left side of the street. I pointed at the shop and I go, "Oh, look, it's Kopkake." And everybody turned and looked at the cupcake shop, and the entire car went ballistic, and we went and bought cupcakes, and we brought some home, and Wayne very graciously decided to pose for the Kopkake. It's we'll live in infamy.
Which, by the way, I just checked, and I have a folder called Convention CES 2011.
Yep.
And pretty sure I have images of all of this stuff. Wow, actually.
That house. This was back when it was. This was back before Airbnb. Way before Airbnb, in fact. And yeah, we rented this place and just, hey, there it is. Look at that. Look at that.
Yeah, some of this is just CES, but I'm trying to. I should look through and find.
This is all the tablets. We saw the prototype 8K TV at this show.
Yeah, this is going through unedited photo.
The Sharp Aquos 8K TV was behind closed doors that you couldn't see anyplace. And so you had to walk in behind closed doors. You could look at it for a couple of seconds. You could come out and you couldn't tell anybody about it.
Wow. You couldn't tell anybody about it. That's crazy.
Yeah, there were things that only certain media and things could get into, right?
Yep.
So I gotta find.
That's such a sick Audi.
No, it was wrapped. It was one of those early ones. The first electronic. It was the all-electric Audi back.
Oh, that's right. That was the e-tron concept car, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gotta have CES. Yep. Oh god, the early walls of TVs.
Oh yeah. Oh. So my boss made me a deal a while back. He said if we ever make $1 million Norwegian crowns profit, which would be about 125,000 US dollars profit in a 6-month period, then he's gonna spring for a company trip to CES.
Dude, if that ever comes back, that'd be amazing.
So one of the things that we do as a company is we go on what's called a cultural enrichment trip, where we pick a city in Europe and we go there for a long weekend. So I've only been on 2 because, of course, the 2021 was kiboshed, right? But I've been to Krakow and I've been to Rome, and so he he asks. My boss asks occasionally, like, where should we go for our cultural enrichment trip? And the first words out of my mouth every time are Las Vegas. We should go to Vegas for the cultural enrichment trip. He's like, why would we go to Vegas for the cultural enrichment trip? Because I would be culturally enriched by being in Las Vegas. I might also be monetarily enriched by being in Las Vegas.
Or the opposite.
Do you not sell the things I could teach you? Like you understand that is my jam.
Yeah, and now gambling math.
Oh gosh.
No, I don't do that.
To put it,
of course, not. Gambling's bad, and we never recommend on this show.
To put it in perspective of how far back this was, because it was early. This is still podcasting days, right? That we're talking about. Oh wait, that's not gonna work. No, don't open up Photoshop. I got a picture of me chilling with Leo Laporte.
Oh yeah, I took those pictures.
Yep. Because I used to watch Leo all the time, and so the opportunity to get a picture with him was like amazing. And me with shorter hair and such, and wearing Alpha Geek radio shirt at the time.
Nice. Memory lane, love it.
Anyhow,
love it.
So thank you for that, Hando, for putting us on that track.
Yeah, very much appreciated.
Yes.
That was interesting.
But there is a picture of me that we edited up with cupcake on face, really hoping it would become a trend where people would showcase images of them getting a cupcake to the dome,
to the face,
and calling out cupcake.
Never happened.
Nope, never happened. I was not the person to have put in that meme, obviously.
Sorry.
But next email we have, this one coming from Ionis.
None of the girls wanted to do it for obvious reasons.
What? I don't know what you're talking about.
I think they could lose their jobs over that.
What? And you're saying I couldn't? No, I was totally down for hoping it would become a thing. I thought it was going to be funny. So, oh well, I was wrong. So Ionis sends us the most recent email of his. That is not a wall of text. This one is just titled Day and says, I'm not one to needlessly wallow in empty symbols or gestures, but tomorrow is the 3rd anniversary. Some of us wouldn't be where we are, wouldn't know who, or wouldn't spec fire as we did if it wasn't for TB. We remember Ionis. P.S.
Yeah.
I'm in Tenaris grinding your sand.
Yeah.
So, thank you for that.
3 years.
Grinded.
Oh my god.
Thank you for that reminder, Ionis. I actually, that passes time where you're like, I did not realize. So, actually,
That's
thank you for the
crazy.
remembrance. For everyone who ever puts up, essentially, his face in chat every time the
gonna
emote hits.
Let's spam chat with lulls because that's his
There it
face
is.
there.
To see our boy
That's our slash salute
TV.
to TB.
Yep.
Fill chat with lul. LUL.
So, thank you for that. Totally whatever.
Yeah.
But to continue on as we honor TB, we do have an Ionis email that is more traditional.
That is a wall of text.
That I have to edit right off the bat. But this one, titled Ionis versus the Social Networking, The Revenge of the Monkey Brain. I effing hate social media.
Yes.
Over the course of human development as a species, our social connections were extremely limited. 50 to 150 people. This is what ordinary humans would deal with. 150 is so-called Dunbar number. That is a suggested cognitive limit to the number of people with whom one can maintain stable social relationships. Whether you're a hunter-gatherer from the 20,000 years ago, Roman legionary from 2,000 years ago, or a peasant from 200 years ago, your social network is limited to the number of people you interacting with on your daily basis. Your tribe, your cohort, your village. When our brain was an evolutionary prime real estate, wasting space and computing power to maintain and comprehend 500 separate individuals just wasn't needed. No hunter-gatherer tribe was this large. It wouldn't be able to sustain itself in the territory it moved through. But just over 20 years ago, this internet thing spawned first social media platforms, and just over a decade ago, smartphones put all of this connectivity in our pocket.
Can I just briefly interrupt to point out that our brain power isn't limited to like a small number of people. There is a small number of people we can consider close friends. That's a social issue. But we're not limited to remembering a number of people. At least we haven't hit any limit yet.
Okay.
Okay.
So, continuing on. No effing wonder we can't use the damn thing like civilized and evolved beings, because we're not. We're skull-effed primates with added layers of social complexity, excelling at making us feel better by making others feel worse. Before Twitter and feces books were a thing, internet social circles existed on IRCs, forums, and mailing lists. We had trolls back then, of course. We had toxic people too. Sexist, racist, and all the otherists you can come up with. Nothing new about that, but those communities often had moderation teams that kept users in check. Those that didn't turned into cesspits and lost users who migrated to more policed zones. This cyber migration was reflected in many corners of the internet, including World of Warcraft, and it was a completely natural way of keeping communities at a healthy level. With platforms like Twitter, the size of the community is potentially unlimited. Everyone can join, everyone can use. Doesn't take a degree from social studies and green hair to figure out where this thing is going, right? A phallus-sucking microblogging platform, yes, designed to update others on what you're up to in 140 characters or less, became an effing front line of ideological warfare on the internet. What the actual effing F? I can barely write my name in less than 140 characters. Conveying complicated political topics seems like an effing impossibility. Don't get me started on humor, sarcasm, or something as poorly understood and deserving of a nuanced comprehension as gender dysphoria. Suddenly, anything you post can become viral. All it takes is someone with big enough reach to retweet you. And boom, you have 150 people telling you you are a worthless human being because you posted something offensive 10 years ago. 150 people. This is your limit of social connections. So your monkey brain is yelling at you that something seriously is wrong with you or something wrong is going on. Of course, the same brain doesn't comprehend that the other 20 or 200 million daily Twitter users don't give a F, and you should just chill your breasts. Okay. Our brains are really bad at understanding numbers that exceed the number of our phalanges, any number that exceeds our phalanges. If it is so surprising, is it so surprising? The internet became a roaming place for mobs united by a single issue and lashing out against everyone else. Look at Bob here. Bob is from your town. He perhaps voted for the Purple People Eater in the last election, but he also borrowed you his truck last year, and his kids mows your lawn twice a month. And you know for a fact, if something happened to you or your family, Bob would be there trying to help. But on the internet, he isn't just Bob. He is Bob underscore 1971, who is a garbage purpleless voter, and he is the worst thing since 2020's cats. Well then, it's Bob. In fact, the only person worse than Bob is Jane. Jane said something that can be understood as going against the mob she was part of. Jane committed the worst crime of all. She isn't just an unbeliever. She's branded as an apostate. Apostate.
She's an apostate. Yes, she's an apostate to the church. Yep.
An apostate. The apostasy must be destroyed because it undermines our side. Also, it is much easier to attack Jane because she is more likely to be pressured into submission when her own community shows up at her homepage with virtual pitchforks. Try the same stuff with Bob. Bob doesn't give an F. He has his purplest friends and the internet pitchforks on his side. So what's the point of this email? I don't have an effing clue. In the course of writing this email, I forgot what last week's show was about anyways. Was it Star Wars again? Have a great week, everyone. This from Moozle, level 44 Druid, Netherguard Keep EU.
Yeah.
Thank you, Iotis.
Hook 'em horns to all my cows out there.
Oh, and then we had another email. This one coming from Crocetus, I believe. Crocetus.
Crocetus.
Crocetus. This in response to, I believe, the our discussion about, because this is off episode 490. So the last one I was on as well, we were discussing the impact of, oh shoot, what's the name of that one? I have to go back in our own way back. Anyhow, we got political. So it says, "Hey guys, like the show, but as someone who did vote for our previous president, I felt like I was being strawmanned like heck. I know Ken is not as in sync with U.S. politics, but hearing him mention stuff like QAnon was cringy. Octel had it mostly right when he said it was a protest vote. Every 4 years, you have a political machine spool up from the Democrats that labels everyone opposite to them as racist, homophobic, transphobic, bigoted, etc. It's just like, sir, this is a Wendy's. Trump wasn't even my fifth choice in the election, but I had a choice between a political family, Clinton, which from even back in Arkansas, I know to be corrupt as hell, or scummy businessman.
I would not vote for Clinton. No way.
And I didn't either. Who, up until he ran for president, was pretty well liked by the NAACP and had just as many good stories about him as bad. Add a pinch of populism, a pinch of nationalism, and ability to keep people like Beto and AOC from gaining more power under a Democrat-controlled admin, and the choice was clear. To speak, well, I don't know, to speak to that or to keep reading. To speak to that, on my side of things, I will say, I didn't vote for him either. My challenge, I think that you'll hear from the opinions I expressed today, is that I too often run into people who did vote for 45, who could not admit to, see, or come up with any criticisms to any of the actions he performed while president. Indeed. And so when I run into people that basically supported everything he did in the presidency after voting for him, I have a little more conversation to be had about how I think you might have lost me. Because It's one thing to say why you voted for him, and I told people at the time why I thought he likely could win, to people who were completely disbelieving and could not understand how it was possible. However, I have run into a lot of people that it bothers me that they could not find anything they were willing to openly criticize about anything he had done as president. And I personally have yet to find anyone I know, let alone a politician, who can't be criticized. Yeah. Because I have issues with our current president. I have issues with Barack Obama when he was president. I had it all the way back through every president that I've ever been aware of in politics. And one of the challenges I have is that I often, not saying that you, Crocodus, did this, but reading through and the way you described what you voted for is fine, but can you discuss, in addition, your thoughts on the actual presidency that he had?
I'm gonna play devil's advocate for a second, and I'm gonna start my devil's advocacy with a criticism. Because I think your point is well made, Wayne, that a lot of the rabid, shall we say, 45ers out there are incapable of suggesting that he did anything wrong.
Yeah.
Okay.
In fact, I would go as far as to say that many of them see him as a religious figure, and I've seen people who do literally think he is the return of Christ. And I'm not saying that's the average. I don't think that is even close to being the average.
Well, I'll put that bin into you have extreme views by a vocal minority.
That's fair. There are some loud and proud 45ers. Of that, there's no doubt. I'll say this. I think that the biggest criticism that you could make against 45 is that he marketed himself as a populist during the campaign and then did basically nothing that was populist as president. Now, I also think, playing devil's advocate, the reason why is because if he had tried to have been a populist and go again and really take on all of the establishment machinery that a populist would have to take on, he wouldn't have survived the first impeachment. Like I think he gets convicted because I think both sides would have been like, we got to get this guy out of here. He's going to create change, and we don't want that.
I'd agree with that. Yeah.
So that is my devil's advocacy. My interest, and I'll admit I was interested. My interest came two parts. One, we knew who every single other Republican candidate was. Right? And we knew who Hillary Clinton was. Ugh.
Well, I will tell you,
Right?
there were Republicans on the ticket that I would have voted for highly over Trump at the time.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You tell.
I got to go back and find
Oh.
names, but there were a couple that I was like, actually, I was feeling this person until they bowed out, basically.
Like the
Oh, crush.
Ted Cruz.
No, that's I'm
No.
trying. I don't even remember what the pack was, but I just remember at the time that I was like, really him? I would have done this, and it's odd because maybe because I'm not from New York, I didn't know any better. Every New Yorker I ever talked to was like, "Are you kidding? Trump? We know who he is. He's a dirty businessman that's been in the pocket of the mob since the beginning of real estate." And so they all were like, "You guys are effing insane to put that guy in the presidency. His whole family was dirty." Every New Yorker I ever talked to was like, "There's a reason we all know not to deal with him, because
okay. I mean,
and so they
that's
weren't
fair-
surprised
that's
by
fair
any of
enough,
his
too.
actions."
That's fair. That's fair enough too.
But that's the thing, right? I'm not even concerned with the why people voted for him in the first case. My concern is primarily with watching the presidency in action, and I think this is true of any president. You should be openly critical of them for the things they're doing at the moment. And my concern I ran into often was trying to have conversations about very specific policies and having people consistently come back at me with the just rote like party line things where they couldn't even have a conversation,
Yeah.
where it
Fuck, you
became,
just told me to
in
say
my
this and I
mind,
don't know how to think of anything else.
yeah, it became cultish.
100
And that's what bothered me.
100%. But let's be fair. The other side had this problem too, right? Ezra Klein did a podcast where he found an author of a book that essentially compared the United States to Hungary,
Okay.
Why is that bad?
right? Well, so this was the United States is turning into an autocracy, and the election's not going to get certified, and there's not going to be a transition of power. I mean, realizing that 45 was more or less a spoiled brat, right? What he turned out to be. The power was transitioned, right? So the American democracy, as those of us that would not do the Chicken Little thing for the period of 2016 to 2020, correctly predicted the American democracy did exactly what it was supposed to do.
Sure, but there was clearly an attempt of him, like, there was a coup at the Capitol. I mean, he was literally egging them on and organized it in part, and he tried to encourage...
Okay, Ken, if you're going to call that a coup, the Chaz was more successful than the coup, right? Because the Chaz lasted for 7 days as an independent entity from the United States, right? Because the thing to do as soon as they declared themselves independent was to shut off the water and power at the lightest and roll tanks as at worst, right? Because we now have an invader in United States sovereign territory. So as far as coups go, the Chaz was a more successful coup than the supposed coup.
I never called it a coup. I said it was attempted insurgency, and I do believe they were trying to destroy the political process of the nation and the actual legal means of what was actively happening at the time, compared to a group of people, citizens in an area, who were trying to declare their own state of existence, and the majority of the people in the area were like, not as big a deal, making a political point. You had people who were actively going in and destroyed government property in the sense of going in to try to hurt people at that moment,
and
did hurt, killed people in the defense of the property, killed freaking police officers in the process, even though they are the Blue Lives Matter BS lying people. And so I do separate those heavily, because you had people who are trying to make a political point saying we object to what the country's doing and we're trying to be our own thing, to people who are trying to say we don't believe the legal process of what's been happening should happen, so we're going to actively try to destroy it and stop it. And those people were flipping domestic terrorists who broke in on government property through violent means to destroy and stop the official process of this government.
It had a 0.00 chance of success.
It doesn't matter about the chance of success. The fact that they tried it.
I said attempted. I didn't say it was a done thing. I said it was attempted.
Yeah, nobody said it worked.
The people in the process of trying to do it.
The last time a group of people declared themselves independent from the United States, we went to war over it.
I am saying that the people involved with this should be treated based on the actions of what they were trying to do.
Charge them with what they can be charged with under existing law and throw the book at them.
Absolutely.
But
I agree.
I'm fine with
my
that.
original point was that Trump was the one who was supporting it. So Trump didn't really want the peaceful transition of power. He repeatedly asked lawyers, how can I get out of transitioning power here? How can I overthrow the election? How can we throw the span? And that's why they recounted so many votes, and they tried to...
Well, they're still trying to recount votes now, today, this far after, even though everyone certified them. So it's a party. It's a party that's...
He had no choice again. He didn't try to do... That was not because of him. That was despite his best efforts.
Okay.
Anyway, this is turned way.
Well, again, this is the risk, because going into the email, and his response to what we said, I'll finish the email of what he came in there. His opinion being, I was born and raised in California. I know their policies. I fled their policies. I don't want this for our country, and I just hope that the Democrats can recenter and stop pushing to the left as hard as they can, because the mention of social credit scores and race-based equity scares the crap out of me. Todd, I respect the heck out of your knowledge of what's happening in cancel culture. I think the best example of this was the discussion between Tim Pool and Twitter folks on the Rogan show, specifically about misgendering issues. For episode, and then he gives us some suggestions about their next, or for our 500th episode coming up. It says, anyway, guys, I love what you're doing, and that you're doing this. Even if I disagree with everything or if you disagree with everything I've said, I don't want to lose friends over politics, and I hope this can take my statements in good faith and not as trying to convince you of anything you don't believe in. Cheers. And that's the thing.
I very much respect somebody who is able to discuss this without, saying, crying, you're being rude. Let's stop talking about it. I think friends and even people who are not friends should be able to discuss politics respectfully, and that's what's really fallen in recent decades in politics, especially in the U.S. Is that loss of civility in politics. In the end, we should all be able to look at each other as fellow human beings and respect each other's educated opinions.
So, I just to bookend this, Crocatus, I just want you, and I guess I want everybody who's listening to this to know, is I want what you want. I want a centrist, non-corporate, left-leaning party. And we're not going to get, I don't think we're going to get that. And the reason why is because I think the centrists who are not interested in corporatism have been decimated by this factioning of the party into the extreme left and the corporatists. And the corporatists seem to have won without a shot being fired, incidentally, which is somewhat interesting. But there was some research, and I want to say it was from Pew, but I can't. I went looking for it a while ago and I couldn't find it. But it was the subject of the research was the shift in political ideology over time for the major American political parties, and the American left is moving left 10 times faster than the right is moving right.
Yeah, because the right can't get any further right. And the left is finally past center.
Well, so that's a good point, Wayne. From a global perspective, it's way right and right?
Yes.
Exactly. The only further right the right can get is literally doing high fearless leader, right? Yes. We've been there, and we're not that far off it again with the far right. The far right is real close to doing it again. And the leftmost U.S. politics is just skipped over the center of what the world sees. And so you're right. It is like accelerating significantly faster left because you can't go any further right than what we've already experienced.
Well,
I'm just saying.
Closer.
Well, the difference is you skip another step right, and we've done that, and we had wars over it.
Yeah.
And that's the difference. But my whole point to this on the email is to say, like, not to say that your thoughts on it were misplaced, and I can understand why you might have felt, especially from Ken and I, a feeling that the criticisms we had might be over the top or such. But like I said, I got no issue that you voted for him and the people that did. I understood many of the reasons that people did. My concern is the lack of continuing criticism, conversation, and discussion about actions throughout the presidency and how it affected where we are today, especially from the perspective of what the party that leans itself right represents. And that I am worried because I've not heard good conversation from right-leaning people about what their party represents today. Because when they bring up certain ideals, the actions and the laws they're trying to pass don't support the ideals they're saying they support. And so I'm confused and I'm concerned because I have always been a moderate about the overall, and I truly believe politically most people are, because I think when you really it is dangerous to define people by one leaning or another, because it's usually specific policy based. About this specific issue, people tend to lean one way or another or have an interest that may be different than what the party would say they should lean about this other issue. So I tend to believe when we get out of the labeling aspect and talk about to people in specific cases, we all are way more moderate than what we're led to believe by the noise you hear in media.
So one more thing I want to say to Crocatus. You'll find hopefully you will find this as fascinating as I find it. Go find the documentary film Inside Job and find it's called Panic, the Untold Story of the 2008 Financial Crisis from Vice News on HBO. Watch those two. It'll take you about 3 hours to watch them both. Note the differences in the stories being told and who talks to whom. It's fascinating, I think.
There you go.
So I'll leave you, Crocatus, to do that work on your own. And right. So anyhow, those are our emails and our cleanup, and thank you all for it. Like I said, we cover a lot of different subjects, and so I think it's totally appropriate. We don't expect people to agree with all of us. Heck, we don't always agree with each other on the show. That's kind of the point.
Boring if we did.
Yeah, it's to have a conversation. So totally cool, and we appreciate all of your comments and welcome them in the future. Sure. As we were talking about the subject, we're getting close to the end of the show. I think we kind of discussed what it was about the Twitch streaming and stuff, and it was interesting actually because apparently Hando and Soda Pop both said like they thought based on the title we were going to talk about our design as Twitch streamers, like the channels we present and how we can be creatives, and the kind of things you do as a streamer that is design. That is another topic we could discuss. That I jokingly say I don't know if we're the right people for it because you see our design.
No.
Yeah.
No. We're a hobby. No, here's the thing. We're hobbyist enthusiasts, right?
Yeah.
Or enthusiast hobbyists. Like, I don't care necessarily that much about branding, right? I don't need a 12-minute intro with my brand and my t-shirt shop and my OnlyFans and my other social media stuff. We have the link tree, which you can go to linktr.ee/ShowX, and you can find all of our social media stuff. Shameless plug. But, we don't... I'm not going to shove branding down your face, or down your throat. Down your face. I'm not going to shove branding down your face, or your throat, or anything else. That's right. That's right. And this is all to me sort of circumstantial anecdotal evidence that this whole economy is fragile, right? This whole content creator economy is fragile because it is so much on brand. It's almost. And I can't say this in every case, but I'd argue in some or a lot of cases that more effort is put into branding than the content of the stream or the videos. It's like, I've got a really slick intro. Now here's 15 minutes of vapid piss about Cyberpunk 2077. And I don't know. I just, I'm one of those people who's sitting on the sidelines desperately waiting for the bubble to pop so we can all go back to being hobbyists or enthusiast hobbyists, and bring up the quality of the content again.
Man, you're talking about bad Twitch streams. This is a bit of a tangent now, so I'm sorry. I've been trying to use Twitch more because I want to try and support our friends and stuff. So whenever I see one of our friends is streaming, I try to jump on there and, chat and say hi at least, even if I can't always listen in. I'll at least have the stream going. But I've also sometimes taken some interest in the streams that are on Twitch, and I want to learn and support small channels and stuff. So I'll jump on and I'll sort from low popularity to high. And I'll just click on a random stream that speaks English. That's kind of my only requirement, really.
Yep.
And I've seen some crap out there, man. Like, I used to think pretty critically of our show, like, oh, we need to improve this, improve that. We're not that bad. There's a lot there's a lot of streams out there that are pretty... Like, I jumped on one that was just this, 8-year-old girl without any parental supervision, and there was a bunch of dudes in the chat being creepy, and I was like,
ew.
I'm reporting this. What the hell?
Yeah.
Why is this allowed? Why is this 8-year-old using Twitch?
Yikes.
Why is this so easy that she can just go install app, go, I'm now live and publishing myself to the internet, and a bunch of people can watch that without any oh my god, and then there's other streamers who are 45 and which is not a bad thing, I'm just saying not a child, and streaming absolute zero design qualifications, or if all the design they have is pre-copy pasted graphics from online, and they spend 5 minutes being completely silent playing a video game and crappy resolution with crappy internet, and I'm like, dude, say something. Say hi. You don't even pay attention to your chat. There's so much bad stuff on Twitch. And
Ken's an ageist.
I do feel called out right now.
Yeah, you were mocked. You were mocked for being 45.
I was saying 45. When I do stream, I have trouble keeping up with the chat because I'm trying to play the game and not be a scrub. And so, usually,
I know.
I know. I need to stop streaming.
Those of us that are 44 and still young,
I'm making the most of my ability to be ageist because I'm only going to be in my 20s for a few more months, man. And after that, I'm going to be.
It all goes downhill, Ken. Whatever's on your bucket list, get it done before you hit 30.
Let me tell you. No, it's all good. It's all good.
Actually, I'm gonna tangent real quick because this is sort of jokey stuff made me think of it. One of the things that they do on the Life Pro Tips subreddit a lot is post these memes talking about how it's never too late.
Yeah, okay.
It's never too late to pick up another skill. It's never too late to start going to the gym. It's never too late to chase your dream. Chat, it's never too late. I walked away from my career and moved to a different country at 40. 39.
I was expecting you to go for a meme here. I'm actually surprised that you're giving legitimate Life Pro Tips here.
No, it's really real. I like the it's never too late sort of resonated with me. Chat, it's never too late. It's never too late.
There is a lot of truth to it, and I admit I need more help internalizing that sometimes, because you hit a certain point in life, you can look back and go man, what am I doing with myself? And then yes, and it's a way to keep some perspective about what could be done.
So long as the thing that is never too late isn't dating the cheerleader at school, because it's probably too late for that. That's probably legal for a lot of our listeners. Don't recommend that one.
You just got to talk about the cheerleader that was in school when you were in school.
Oh, that's okay.
Because I've actually, I've actually seen that happen, and I had a moment of that when I was younger, mind you, but after school, where there was a gal that I re-met up with who was a cheerleader like the year ahead of me. She was like on the cheer team when I was a junior. She was a senior, and then didn't see people for a bit, and then all of a sudden saw her again and was like started hanging out. So I mean, it can happen.
Yeah, sure. Just so she's probably not a cheerleader anymore, though. I just mean like somebody who's currently a cheerleader. Most people who's listening to the show probably shouldn't be chasing down.
I don't know, man. Those Bronco cheerleaders.
I don't know what that means.
Professional sports team cheerleaders, so they're adults.
Oh, right. Adults. Okay. Yeah, that's different. That's different.
Anyhow.
This show took a bad route.
Anyhow. Yeah, we're all over the place with this one. Like I say, we're awful at times. All right. So, I do think there's a possibility that we could talk a little bit more about stream design and how actually streaming has allowed people to, as we talked about kind of at the head of the show, how Twitch streaming and streaming in general has grown so far beyond just gaming. I think that's something we could discuss. Going forward, though, as we're getting close to the end of the show, problematic type things. One, I would love to hear some feedback from everyone about what we are doing here as we're trying to keep opening up features on Twitch. Here with the, membership reward things, I guess, or whatever we call them, and trying to do all that. I know we're going to try to work on doing some custom emotes and such so that you guys will have more things to participate with us. That should be fun. And what else do I have on the problematic side? I will not be here next week, I believe, again.
Wayne. You and
my
your
cousins,
popular social life.
my cousin's getting married. I got to go drive to the middle of the cornfields and support that and such. So, yeah, I gotta do family stuff.
Let's say Game Fest is not next weekend. Got it.
No, I'm actually looking either late June or mid-July. But it is finally time to host another Game Fest. I've had too many things recently of memories popping up and seeing people I've known. Like, for your sake, Todd, just to let you know, I just the other day, 2 days ago, was hanging out with Dark Black God and El Campo in my, in my dining room, having pizzas and beers and reminiscing about belts and things. And so, yeah, I've been running into older groups.
Like martial arts belts, not just like leather belts.
No. There's a whole not safe for air story that goes along with that one.
Okay.
So there's a whole nother. Oh, snap! Is that like the first subscriber we've actually got?
Oh
now?
My god!
That's
really?
a new alert. Thank you, Kuro.
Wow!
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Kuro.
That's
Oh my
outstanding.
God.
You guys haven't been able to hear me for the last 5 minutes. There was a problem with my microphone. DBG owes me a game of Sega Hockey.
Oh, that's right. Was it DBG? I mean, there have been more than a couple people at Game Fest that owed you not just future games of things. People owe you body parts and stuff from previous Game Fest, the ones I haven't hosted.
Kyle.
Oh, that was Kyle. Owes Kyle. Sorry. You're right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Body parts are owed to Hordak. DBG owes me a game of Sega Hockey.
Gotcha. So that may be happening because I would love to have another post Game Fest show at some point and be able to use the other microphones in the studio here again at some point.
Right?
Right. This wonderful mixer board for the one mic.
I'd be fully vaccinated again. My wife would also be 8 months pregnant at that point.
There will be more. There will be more.
No.
So
does that mean you're getting away for the last and final time for a couple of years, and you're going to come visit the US? That's what you're telling us.
You mean 20? The last and final time by myself for 20 years?
Honey, this is just my chance to visit home one more time back before all that's happening.
Before my life ends.
So is that you starting?
I'm just kidding.
Starting paternal leave a couple weeks early, so that you.
No.
Of course, that would not happen. No.
That would not happen.
Yes. Oh, just remember, Amazon gets 50% of the sub money. Well, I mean,
Really?
Amazon is kind of the dom in this situation. So
We don't. They get 50. You know, once we get big enough, I've heard that number changes
Up or down?
up for us.
yeah, it
Oh,
goes down
right.
for them. They support the big people,
Yes.
like most economies and societies.
As we found out on H3H3, the community managers play favorites.
That is for sure.
Indeed.
And we are not there. So yes, thank you for that advice, Hando. We do always recommend, if you'd like to support the show, to do it via Patreon. However, using these little bits and stuff make us, I guess, more relevant in this space. And so that works as well. Admittedly, I probably have to go back and read that whole affiliate, fine print that says, I'm sure we're not multi-streaming at all and only stream to Twitch, because why would anybody multi-stream a live stream anywhere? That would be so against it.
Yep.
Yeah, we wouldn't be so unethical as to deprive you of
that would
money,
never happen.
Amazon.
As I just buy something else off Amazon for the Prime shipping, right?
What are you doing?
Gotta get new headlights for the car. Anyhow, as we have completely tangentialized ourselves out of here, I would also like to say, because we're doing these new features and we talk about the ability to do other drop-ins, things like that, we are open to your recommendations. What are some of the things that represent us, this show, that you are so familiar with that you're like, darn it, I want to be able to throw that shade right back at them. The things that we do and such, that you could call it out and be like, you guys need this emote because we watch you do it, and that's what needs to happen, or such.
Oh my gosh! So I know that you can tie sound bites to the channel point redeems.
Yep.
And I was thinking about one where you could put one of us in the penalty box.
Okay.
For 2 minutes. Right?
Oh, that'd be hilarious.
You send channel points to put one of us in the penalty box, and the sound bit is Pinhead from Hellraiser, the box. Right? That
nice.
Comes up and it says the box.
I like it.
Anyway.
See, these are the ideas we need, right? I haven't been doing this. If it wasn't for the youngest member on our crew here, we wouldn't have half of the fancy bits that you're seeing these days, because he's like, hey guys, we could probably do this.
I'm a boomer. I don't know how any of this technology works.
What we could do is have a special points channel redeem thing where you could do a reveal of what's on Wayne's screen, and when it appears, the Pornhub sound effect plays, like a little intro.
Bum.
And immediately Wayne's screen is full screened.
Oh jeez. You're asking for some stuff there. It's one thing with mine where it might be on social media or something. I'm kind of always worried what you guys are doing. I'm pretty sure Ken, it used to always be Factorio.
Yeah, it's Fortnite now.
Oh, see? Where I actively have to tell my friends ahead of the show that I got to not play another round of Warzone because the show's starting to happen.
That's right. I turn my video games off before I do the show.
Okay, you have to manage a microphone and a camera. I have to manage multiple feeds.
Yes,
and my computer is
a little bit more responsibility. It's true.
As we've discussed before, Fortnite doesn't require any cognitive processing.
You're just building towers, right?
I'm not even thinking. I don't even build, to be honest. I'm too old for that. I'm just young enough that I can still play Fortnite and enjoy it, but I'm too old to be able to pick up the new mechanics of building and stuff. And instead, I'm easy to kill. So
I want you to know that it is a long-standing show tradition for at least one of the hosts to be playing video games right up to, if not after the start of the show. Because Hordak used to do that too when we were playing World of Warcraft back in the day.
In the actual room, still playing, wait, what? Show's starting? Yep.
I remember, actually, I clicked on one of our shows randomly because it was recommended to me for some reason. From episode 360 or something. And I clicked on it and just started watching the intro, and it's just me saying, I'm sorry, the game is almost over. And I was playing League. and I was back in Scotland years and years ago, and you're like mocking me like, you noob, hurry up and die, or something.
We've had a couple of those, but all right, it is time for us to get out of here, guys.
Fantastic. Yep.
So, Ken, now that we've been wasting all of the tangentializing that we could do, possibly this show, let us end out of here so that we can give everybody back their week.
All right. You have been watching, listening, and enjoying ShowX here on the twitch.tv channel VTW ShowX, or on YouTube channel Versus the World Video. Thank you so much for checking us out. We very much appreciate it. Thank you to Kuro, who has subscribed to us today and given us some bits. Thank you so much. We really appreciate the monetary side of supporting us. We really appreciate that. We also have a Patreon and a donate button, and we have various different things. We also have a shop. There are various different ways you can help out the show financially, but don't feel like you have to. That's really if you guys have some spare cash and you're like, yeah, we'll throw it your way. That's bonus stuff, and we really appreciate when it happens. The main thing is if you guys can just subscribe, jump in and watch us, and have a good time with us. That's number one. So thank you so much. If you do want to support us either financially or through social media and stuff, you can do so by going to linktr.ee/ShowX. The link is in the chat. Please do go along there and, subscribe and like and follow and all those different things and retweet and all that stuff. It really does help us out. It just makes our little community here not stay stagnant and stay the same numbers each week. We can maybe get 1 or 2 extra listeners that way and, diversify and grow and meet new interesting people who can send us in angry emails about telling me that I am far too liberal and a communist. Not that you actually did. You didn't actually do that. I'm exaggerating. But you can do that if you want. That's fine.
Something, Wayne. We too could be communists because we have associated with somebody who might be.
You're right, and therefore we could be put onto the list.
We could be too, and we would be blacklisted in Hollywood.
I actually just read a book by Noam Chomsky this week, so I'm pretty much an anarchist now as well. So I'm definitely on a list somewhere. But then again, on my to-read list, I also have Mein Kampf. So, it's almost as if I like to have a wide
So you're just going to be on multiple lists.
I also have Gulag Archipelago on my to-read list. It's almost as if I want to read about the entire spectrum. And that's not a bad thing.
Proving the political horseshoe theory correct.
All right. You have been listening to ShowX. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in to our continually throwing banter at each other. It's always a good time. All right. Wayne?
All right, we are getting out of here, everybody. Also, as we did talk about the supports, make sure you check out our Teespring. You can get some merch, because we're doing that now. But we are going to get out of here, so everybody have a good week, and a happy salute to all of you out there, and we will catch you again next week. Bye, everybody.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye, radio people.
See you next zombie.